They say performance has an expiration date, but what if they're wrong? No matter where you start, the goal's the same: to be better, stronger, wiser, bolder. We're here for the relentless, those that don't back down, don't compromise, and don't quit. This is training for Masters athletes by Masters athletes, with a community that holds you steady. So say goodbye to random workouts, because whether you're stepping into following a program for the first time or stepping onto the podium, your journey starts here.
Welcome back to Masters in Motion. It's Jason Grubb and myself, Rick Stevenson, again with a friend of the pod, Mr. Joe Linton. I have to think this is a multi-time appearance for you. We usually...
Before now.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we need to talk to you about some information, Jason does a great job of reaching out, and we thank you for making the time today to come on and talk about the big news. Part of what was released, where these in-person qualifying events will be for the 2026 CrossFit Games season, and one of them lands with your team. So welcome, happy Halloween, and thank you very much for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me. Very excited always to talk to you guys and answer any questions you got, because it helps the competition space. It helps our event be bigger. So, we're here and we'll share as much as we can. So let's do it.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, let's jump into right into it, Joe. Obviously, there is released on Wednesday. We've got a number of in-person semifinals for Masters athletes, something we've been hoping for years, and now it's happening. We've got something on the East Coast out here where I live with the Magic City Games. Again, it's not geofence; it's just that's close. And then West Coast Legends is doing it. So tell us what you're planning for the Legends in-person semifinal, from dates, qualifiers, how do people get there, qualifying spots. Of course, we'll dig into all this, but let's start with the high-level details.
High-level details. Obviously, we are, like the announcement said, we will be in Del Mar at the Del Mar Arena, and that is the same location that, in the 2012 to 19 era of CrossFit, that's where our regional was. So it's a very special place. Local to me, I'm in San Diego, and I used to go there and watch all the regionals. And so being able to bring the Legends Championship to that location, be a live in-person qualifier for the Masters, which, like you said, we've been asking for years. And also now bring on Indy too, which kind of completes the whole picture that we're trying to, or what we're trying to create at Del Mar and with the Legends semifinals. April 24th to 26th, 3-day competition. It's going to be pretty awesome. I've been down there already a few times for site visits. I've been there, many times over the years. And so it's, the planning process is already very exciting, and I can't wait to be able to release more and more information, as that becomes available. It's going to be really cool.
As all the travel you've done lately, I have to imagine you like site visits where they're short drives, as opposed to getting on a plane and making a long weekend or week, in fact, out of it. So I'm sure having your history, that you'll scour this place for any and all opportunities for the athletes.
Yeah. And it also allows, because a lot of my, executive staff or team, they're in San Diego as well. So meeting them for lunch
makes it much easier.
Go hammer out some details, go take these measurements, go plan this, makes it way easier. And my, wife and family like that it's down the road and I don't have to travel for a minimum of, 2 to 3 days just to do a site visit. So it's definitely easier on my travel. And I think that's just going to result in some more detailed planning and us pulling off the comp that we want at Del Mar, which, we're stepping into some big shoes from the events that I've seen host there. And we're excited to replicate a lot, improve on as much as we can, and also give it that Legends spin. It's going to be cool.
How big do you envision this? What are you thinking with regards to how many indie athletes? And then in each age group, how many qualifiers will be competing at Legends semifinals?
Yeah, so on our website, legendscomp.com, there's a new event page for the Legends Del Mar semifinal. Starting with the indie or elite or pro, 20 men, 20 women. Going into then the Masters, it'll be in the 35s and 40s. We will have 30 men, 30 women in each age group. Then in the 50s and 54s, it'll be 20. And then 55 plus will be 10 per age group. The qualifying numbers, it's going to be 2 men, 2 women out of the elite or indie pros. 35s, 40s, 3 men, 3 women. 45s and 50s, 2 and 2, and then 55 plus 1 man, 1 woman from each age group. So it's basically kind of like times 10. How many qualifiers go to the games? It's times 10 that number of athletes that will be competing in the field.
Makes sense. And to qualify, what's the road to qualification?
So we're currently doing what other semifinals are doing. It's going to be based off of quarterfinals in that leaderboard. We will be adding more information on additional routes from higher level competitions that will serve as you will get an invitation pending, you sign up for the open, you do quarters,
Quarterfinal
and bracket. So it's like, cool, hey, you receive an invitation pending that you complete these additional steps later in that CrossFit season. So let's say this competition, let's say Rogue, we want to send some invites to a couple pros from Rogue that do really well this weekend. Cool. Pending that you do this and this in the upcoming 2026 season for the open and quarters, then that invitation is still valid and you can accept. So the main one is going to be from quarterfinals like the other semifinals are also doing.
And the way that works essentially is, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the quarterfinals, from the open quarterfinals path, it is, the top X amount that could compete, get the first take at accepting an invite. And then, let's say that I'm in that mix for quarterfinals and maybe I'm going to do, a different semifinal that's not on the West Coast. So I decline that. And does that open up a spot and trigger an automatic invite to the next person in line beyond that? Is it just sort of yeah?
Exactly. It's going to go pretty much, we're going to go off the leaderboard. We will invite, the X number, top of the leaderboard. At the same time that we will be publishing a kind of interest list, and we will also be using that as well, because we definitely want people that want to be there. They want to attend, they want to support it. So we'll be considering that, high interest list for people that want to, sign up, put their hat in the ring, and we'll basically compare that to the leaderboard and we'll start kind of filtering down through there. But it shouldn't take very long to fill that roster, especially with getting an interest list and allowing people to plan their season. So that's why we're so excited to announce all this as soon as we could. So that, put it on your calendar, plan your trip, talk to the wife, talk to the husband, talk to the kids, whatever you got to do to get your time set aside for a week in Del Mar.
Well, I was going to say, as far as the invites go, when it's a competition weekend, you might have close to a full field. There might be a couple of drops due to injuries are completely understandable, but those folks that might have accepted and then just don't end up coming. Absent that, I imagine your team's goal, strive for a full field, because that ensures that you have exhausted all the backfills that you've needed to in order to sufficiently run a competition with the number of athletes and the tests in front of them that they want. So, long way of saying I'm excited to hear the process, just because I'd hate to have these in-person qualifying events not have a full field or not be as well attended as you and HQ would think because of logistics or timing.
Yeah, that's why having multiple routes, but also I think that interest form is going to allow us to kind of people that like, hey, we're not just going off a leaderboard. This is going to be that you want to attend, and if you are outside of that first 20 or 30, depending on the age group and the number of invites we sent, that you want to be there. So it's kind of like, cool, hey, this person didn't accept. Let's go down the leaderboard. Hey, they're also here. So it's kind of like just another form of contact, and to kind of allow as many people as possible in the know on what we're doing. And I think that's what's going to result in a full roster. for
this,
marketing.
you know,
Yeah, for
I was
marketing,
going to say,
people know like the amount of time and effort we're putting into it is what's going to, I think, secure the roster that we want. And wishful thinking, I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but we definitely want that full roster. We want to sell out the event. And we want as many people to attend as possible. And I think that what you guys want to see is 30 athletes competing. You don't want 30 sign up and only 22 show up. You want that full field. So
yeah, I didn't mean to butcher that last question that way. That's, one thing that the community loves to do is jump to conclusions. We all know that. This is the first time that I can recall obviously, we know for age groups, it's the first time of in-person qualifying, and that you're not, for everybody that's used that term before, geofencing, saying if you live in these 5 states, that this is the only in-person opportunity you're going to have. You're not doing that. So I would hope that the community allows some grace for this process to run its course, fill a field. If you want to travel, look, where I'm located. I'm in, Northeast Ohio. San Diego is not exactly around the corner, but if I have interest in traveling, I would certainly, would be grateful for that opportunity, as opposed to really wanting to get out there and go, well, I don't live on the West Coast, so therefore I'm not even eligible, so I hope the community allows this to play out. And as HQ always does, let's take a look and take stock at the end of the year and see if this works and what do we need to tweak for 2027. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I do. We went through a lot of planning meetings with HQ talking about how it's going to be structured, a lot of back and forth. And I do like the simplicity that is given to the athletes. It's pretty straightforward. Like, you can go wherever you want. Every competition is going to be running their qualifier. Here's their route and here's the websites to go look them up and plan your year. You don't have to go to your regional or your semifinal area. So I do think it makes it much more simple for each competition to fill their roster, but also it makes it easier on the athletes because they all have much different seasons, and especially competing, being able to qualify in person and also online, it still allows a lot of these competitions will still fall into that calendar very well and give as many opportunities for an athlete to go try to qualify in person, but also do the online qualifier for the semifinal. So I like the simplicity that CrossFit and the rest of the semifinal crew put together for everyone.
And I finally was able to find a calendar. Our for age group for masters, since that is generally who will be listening to this information. You're the first in person after quarterfinals, right? Mayhem Classic is ahead of you by a week.
Mayhem's
but that's
ahead
only
of
individuals.
Only individuals.
Yeah. And then so April 24th through 26th, here comes. So this is our first, as the masters community, chance to do that. So yeah, it does help with some planning and information out there.
That should put you guys 2 weeks in front of the online?
Yes,
that's correct.
Because Magic City is the week after you, and then online is the week after that.
Right. So through those 3 competitions, you're going to see a masters fill up. You're going to get, I think it announced that half come from online.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in the 35s, it's 3 from Legends. You're at 18. And then 3 from Magic City, you're at 21. And so it's getting pretty exciting to start to see that roster fill up. And
for the younger age groups. Right.
Exactly. So as you get older, that does shrink. It's gonna be a very exciting season. I think that it's gonna be a ton of excitement, not just around Del Mar, around Magic City, around even Mayhem going first with the Indy, and then going into Torium Pro, French Throwdown, those opportunities that they have for so many athletes outside of even Masters, the teams and the Indy. And
correct.
I really think the semifinal season is going to be very exciting and just amazing to watch because so many more people get to punch their ticket in person.
Joe,
yeah, go ahead.
You talked earlier about being able to put the Legends seasoning or the Legends, put your signature on an event. So for those that haven't competed at a Legends event and don't know what that signature would look like, how do you define that? How do you describe what a makes your competitions, maybe unique or your workouts unique? Is there a way to describe that?
Yes. I mean, if you go into like the programming, because of the depth of field that we have for each age group, like you guys know, typically you have to earn your gymnastics. We like this escalation of complexity. What we're going to be able to do with a bigger field of play, being at Del Mar, is tell the story a lot better. And all these ideas that we've had for years, Bob and I, that's just we couldn't do because we didn't have enough space. And now going to Del Mar and being able to do a lot of things how we wanted to do them originally, and also execute workouts that, because of the field of play, it had to get edited. So it's kind of like we look back on our programming. There's a lot of workouts that we had to change due to, for many reasons, equipment unavailability, or just again, field of play size. And so what you'll see is we like heavy barbell. Obviously, you're going to see some workouts that are, I always like workouts, at least one. I was talking to my wife about the programming and how, I want people to look at it post-event, post-Legend semifinal, and it kind of be described as, historic and iconic. Like, we really looked at the history that and the workouts that were executed there, and we tried to put our own spin on it. We tried to elevate it or change it. So there's it's not just going to be this fresh brainchild from what we write up. It's going to really look into history there and see what we can do to replicate some really special moments that we saw there. And that's what the goal is. And I want to put on a show, while obviously do all the appropriate tests that we need to do to qualify those people to the games.
Yeah, Jason and I are tired of asking, hey, would you just let us know what the workouts are right now? But we won't do that. So you'll be pulling a little bit from the history that we have seen so far at the regionals. And I think when we spoke with Micah Schumacher, the same thing, he said, because it's the 20th anniversary, he's got a different spin of how he'd like to pull. I wonder if this is really, if you talk to all the other event organizers, if this is kind of a theme. Dave's always like to have a theme throughout the years, but you can confirm that that's what you're looking to do, to pull from some of the regional history at that venue in years past.
Oh, for sure. And
okay.
Yeah, and like there was some really good tests. There's a lot of great workouts that we would just go do at the gym afterwards after we saw it. And I remember those workouts. And so then it's, how do we make it exciting for the athletes to want to come do, and be able to see the media cap it, and just to create, again, those special moments that is going to continue to elevate this comp and build this comp, because I want this to be year after year after year at Del Mar, if possible, because it's a special place. San Diego, it's a fantastic city, and bringing a big CrossFit competition to San Diego and pulling it off like how they used to back in the day, that's the goal. And so telling that story, some solid programming, not overly complicated, but you can tell there was a lot of thought put into it. So it's going to be it's fun programming it. I haven't tested any workouts yet, but we will are going to start that in the next month or so. We got a couple people that are on a list that test workouts, but also they don't know what they're testing for yet.
Joe, a question that's come up or been asked of me to ask, and this is something that could be brought up at the CrossFit Athlete Council as well. But it's unique to you because you are not only a Masters semifinal, you also have the Indy Pro semifinal there as well. And historically, Indy Pro qualifiers are always drug tested at that competition. And again, it may be way too early to have any details on this, but do you know anything about, because these are in-person events, could there be an option for drug testing for qualifying athletes? It's certainly easier to do that in person than in an online semifinal format. But yeah, I know the community is curious about that. We haven't seen a ton of stuff come out from the games at this point with regard to drug testing. A couple people popped, but yeah, it's always a question that comes out there. Is there anything you can speak to this year about that?
Yeah, so we will be kind of following in line with what every other semifinal is going to do. I'm not sure if that drug testing policy or details have been released yet, but I can tell you we will do what everyone else does, is to stay on par and provide the cleanest competition possible. That is very
So
important.
this isn't necessarily, the drug testing piece is not necessarily a decision by you as the competition organizer. It seems like this is more of a standard that CrossFit HQ would be making decisions on. Is that a fair statement, that every semifinal will sort of have the drug testing? That would have been run by HQ anyway, and that's where that'll come from?
Correct.
Yeah.
CrossFit has, standards that we're all going to be held to, and
Mhm.
you'll see those come out soon. And that's, I think, another great thing, because then we're all operating under the same, rule book and standards. And that's what you're going to see.
And speaking of HQ, do they have to? I should have asked this a couple of days ago, but do they have to give a sign off or any kind of a check in terms of programming? Because they have all these different locations now, and some are masters only, some are going to be for individuals, and the elites too. Do they give a last look, or do they say you're running it, so you're programming it? I mean, how does that all? Because we're from everywhere around the country and everywhere around the world now. I mean, I just don't
Yeah,
know.
definitely we'll be sharing our programming with the CrossFit HQ team and getting feedback and editing as needed. But it is very much like, hey, you guys are programming, it's your show. And they do want to see a certain number of tests. They do want to see certain things did in a certain way. Also to make sure that it's a safe event, making sure that that it's a good, well-programmed, thought out group of workouts. So yeah, we definitely will be sharing our programming with CrossFit HQ and receiving, going back and forth, and talking it through to make sure that it's the best possible. So absolutely.
How many workouts can you expect in it? Is it a 3-day competition, Joe?
3 days, right? 3-day comp, expect 5 to 7 scores.
It's better than
I
the
wanna
1
compete.
year of 4 scores online.
Yeah.
That drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Can an athlete compete at multiple in-person qualifiers? Could an athlete accept multiple invitations? Let's say they wanted to run the circuit and they want to do West Coast, East Coast, and LATAM, because they're just relentless athletes and they want to do this. They want to make sure they qualify somehow, and they do all the qualifiers possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to each organizer who gets invited. And so
Gotcha.
I think that would be really cool. One, like, you can get some really good feedback from that type of person that goes to many different ones. I don't think it's going to be too often, but you definitely can compete in multiple. But, each event organizer is, running their own roster how they want to, even though we're all very similar. But yeah, you can sign up for all 3 or more if you want to. Yeah.
I mean, it would be
Well-
crazy. Rick, I'm going to
Yeah.
sign you up for all 3 as a joke, and then you're just going to have to do it, because it would be. Could you imagine doing 2 semifinals? You see, you go to like Legends in April, and then the first week in May you go to Magic City. Then the next week you do in person, and then go ahead and travel to South America and do LATAM whenever that one is.
That's in June. That's the last one.
June.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do that for me. Because, this is not, Joe, you're sitting there in San Diego. You have a US-based qualification path through the games. I think just my problem when this news broke and you got to look at the numbers, and I start looking through some of the age groups, it just seemed the opportunities to qualify are a pretty high percentage out of the United States. And when you look at a games leaderboard, depending on the field size, 20, 30, or 40 from years past, the overwhelming majority from the United States. Now, granted, Jason just said, hey, yeah, Rick, you can go travel everywhere. Sometimes that's not feasible. I mean, that's a big ask for somebody in the United States to say, oh, I want to go to the Torium Pro. Sounds great. I've never been to Australia. And then for them to take 2 or 3 Masters athletes, where when you look at fields in years past, the games athletes from the Masters, you don't always get that deep of a representation of other countries. So my point is was there talk about another United States-based in-person semifinal that just fell through, or they couldn't get it? Or is this just CrossFit trying to say, hey, we're going to open it up to the world and welcome, try it out?
Yeah, so we went back and forth on that, and Bob and I put numbers together. Bob and his numbers, excellent with it, and we presented some information that yeah, it was valid. But when you look at the overall leaderboard and the top athletes, like you're still going to get the top athletes at the games. Now, this does provide more opportunity outside the US. I think at the games last year, we had what? It was like 51% American Masters games. So that international presence is rising and quickly. So again, I think it was the making all the Masters in-person qualifiers the same was the approach was to keep it simple, to keep it clear, and to keep it kind of fair from every semifinal because there is no geofencing. Like you said, traveling out there for us would be tough, but it does provide opportunity for every semifinal to grow and to expand upon this. Like we all don't want this to be a 1 year thing. Everyone wants to do this year after year after year. So it's like, well, let's start here and then really start to make it better each year, but also still have a base to work from. So, and I think that's what they provided, something simple and easy to understand.
And like we know, CrossFit likes to change things. So who knows? Okay. And I'm saying that more from sour grapes from a US based perspective. But
yeah, this was talked
just
about.
My opinion.
This was talked about many times, and everyone playing devil's advocate on this. And what about this? We all came to the same conclusion that cool, this is fair. This makes it again simple and clean across the board.
It's a good way to start. Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
And this is an adjustment for Masters, obviously, because this is disruptive to our historical path to the games. Disruptive, I think, in a good way, obviously, very much in a good way, but still disruptive. If we think about the playing field last year, let's call it our division this year. Rick, now I'll be in your division. So this year, I think we have 20 athletes that can get qualifying spots. When we have this online semifinal, you're looking to get the best 20 athletes from this enormous pool, trusting local judges, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, this year, there's like half those spots in an online qualifier, half those spots in an in-person qualifier. So it could end up, we're just talking about like not the worst case scenarios, but different scenarios where like maybe, there's some athletes that come from Magic City that based on the other athletes in that competition, they rise to the top, but it's actually not that hard of a competition. And so they win. And are they as qualified as someone that would have qualified via online or qualified on the West Coast or in LATAM? Those are all adjustments for Masters athletes. And I went through all that in my head. I was like, yeah, this is crazy. When it comes down to it, though, I think Joe is clearly right. It's the best will get there, and the games will crown the fittest athletes in those categories, regardless of how they get there. But it does change things. And I also think about this is something that the indies or the young pros have dealt with for years. They've done this. Like they were geofenced at one point, right? So they were. If you were in the East, you were like, you're battling against, you're battling against the toughest in the world. If you're on the West, you're like, hey, I'm going to punch my ticket easy. It's not that extreme, but it's much more consistent with what the indies have had to navigate historically. And for us as Masters, it's new. There's elements that are really scary and other elements that are really exciting. So I'm in for it as my vote. Like I'm in for it, but it is definitely that adjustment year, and wherever you're at in the world, there's advantages and disadvantages to your location, but there's always the in-person, there's always the online, net that is going to get half the spots this year. And if this continues to grow, maybe even less spots in the future. But this is a cool change from my perspective, but it's definitely an adjustment.
It's a huge adjustment. And there's like you said, there's that possibility that someone's going to, squeak in through a smaller comp and be able to go to the games, to whereas if it was like previous years and everyone was doing the exact same thing, and there's no way to like take away from that. You got the best of that field because everyone's online. But now that you have these two different routes, we'll see that. But I think we're going to see some really good competitors qualify to the games, and it's more stressful because I think like, one, you got to travel to a comp. You got to perform at your best during your heat times with this warm-up time in this setting. It's like you can't go into your gym where everything's perfect and you got your favorite buddy that's your judge and they got your video and this and that, and like that's all taken away now, which some people prefer that and they do better online, but when they show up, they, since all that's out of their control, they don't do as well. So I think we're going to see it's just going to raise the level of competitors we see that thrive in person. And I mean, that's what we want, so I think that, yeah, we'll see some people squeak in. Okay. But we're going to see some really good competitors get more experience and be able to, show off their skills in person. And you get that head to head comp. It's way different than doing it by yourself. So you're going to see some
Love that.
moments.
I think it's fair to say that we've seen people sneak in or squeak in via online qualifier as well, where historically as masters athletes, we'll sometimes have wondered, like, how did this person get here? Or did their video get reviewed? Did, all the questions, all that stuff that we go through around the qualifiers, at least that, an in-person piece, it's one and done. Like, this is it. You've got the live judge, you're in person, you've got all the structures in place. And I am definitely one of those guys. I would prefer a live competition than an online qualifier. If I have the preference, I'd love to see my competition right there. The online qualifier is just setting your soul on fire because you have no idea what the other athletes are doing. And it's a blind leaderboard. So you're just killing yourself. And then you're retesting it because you think that, dropping a barbell on that one rep, you probably shouldn't have dropped it. It's unknown until you see that leaderboard. And in person, you have the guy right there. It is quite a thing.
Right. And also, let's say on the video, like your hip's not opening up. Sorry, I got a bird in the.
You got a bird.
Wow.
I got a bird.
Hey,
Dodge.
that's a first.
But it's like, we've seen it so many times where on the video, like the hip extension or knee extension or whatever wasn't clear. Like, and that person's score boots them out. And it's like, but if that was in person, that would have been corrected. So I think you're going to see more people appreciate that and want to do in person because of that.
Good point.
It's like, I'm getting a no rep, letting me know right now. And you're going to be able to get that through going to an in-person competition. Also think about the number of people that are going to be at these semifinals. Like if you just do the roster from all of them, it's going to be 150. Let's just use the 35s, like 150 to, or depending on total roster sizes for the Masters. But, only 30 of them get to go to the games. So you got 120 people that got to go to like an in-person competition, a big semifinal, and that's kind of their games. And that's going to be super special for them to go there and compete against Jason Grubb or Rick Stevenson. And at these ones that do have, are qualifying the pros and the team as well. Like, it's kind of like you get to work out alongside these people. And it's kind of, old school games feeling like everyone's been wanting. So it's kind of like these semifinals, especially the ones that have all the categories or as many as you can. It's going to be really special to be able to go compete. And you got the Indy there and you got the Masters as well. And then sometimes the team, it's going to be really special.
I agree with that. And Joe, I remember back in the day when you would be, you'd be in a CrossFit gym and someone would be like, hey, that's a semifinals athlete over there, right? Or a games athlete, for goodness sake. Those were badges of honor, if you had competed at a semifinals event. And I don't think we have that feeling quite as much when we qualify to semifinals for an online qualifier. But if you do get to compete in a semifinals event, it does elevate that internal status. And yeah, I mean, what we do is a hobby. We choose to do this sport. It is an honor to be able to get out there and do this thing at our ages, but then to be able to add or elevate that by having that, whether it's an internal or external or just, that little badge of honor, like I am a semifinals athlete. Or, I remember the first time I got the email that said you qualify for the CrossFit Games and my internal dialogue changed. Like, I am a games athlete. And therefore, ... like your identity somewhat changes. So it's not small that, that we can celebrate these things in our worlds. We put in all this effort, we train like crazy, and to have that opportunity to compete as a semifinals athlete in an in-person competition, it's great. And I'm agreeing vehemently with you, Joe.
Yeah. It's like just to be able to give, especially the people that are going to be qualifying to the games, and you get to compete minimum twice in person. And that's pretty cool because, typically you can go to these other competitions, but, for a lot of people, it's just one time per year and that's all they get. So now you get to do two within, the CrossFit season umbrella. And I think it's going to be really special. You get your name placard, put it up on the wall, whatever's provided to you, it's going to be special. As event organizers, we all want to make sure that, we provide the best competition as possible. So making sure that everyone in attendance is accounted for and thought of, from athletes to spectators, coaches, vendors, sponsors, whoever may be, making sure that their experience in person is the best possible, because we want you to come back. We want you to have a good time. We want you to look at these weekends years later and think about how special it was. So for a lot of people, it's going to be a very special weekend, and being able to provide more of those experience to more of the masters field and the pros now for us, it's just it's an honor, and I'm stoked to be able to do it.
And speaking of that, I wanted to pivot and talk about what you had visions for. You've talked about how you were at the regionals there, and a little Legends history. We were talking before we hit record that you had plans for Del Mar at one point for the Legends. You want to
So
talk about that a little.
Legends in 2020 was where we had Del Mar booked. We had the arena. COVID, canceled that year. The closest thing we could get was, Goodyear, Arizona, which we talked about, and how, special and unique it was. So the Del Mar Arena has always been, we had it and it went away. And just how the years played out after that, we kind of bounced around. We went to, we brought it to San Diego, but did it like in the Bay. Then we went out to Mayhem. Then we ended up in Arizona, just because like the weather was optimal. It's amazing. And also the venue there at the facility with the pool, everything else. So being able to come back to Del Mar and, kind of go full circle on it, getting a ton of experience going other places. We're so pumped. But yeah, 2020 was going to be, we were going to, that was going to be we were going to stay there. And, but now it's good to come back, and, we're very excited. Hopefully there's not another pandemic or
global.
No, not going to happen. We're going to be fine.
Maybe the Del Mar Arena curse, we don't know, but, it's, we're super stoked to be able to go to Del Mar and pull it off there. And I think the crowd, from our Instagram post that we just made yesterday, a lot of excitement. I just saw some people already, emailing us and contacting us, wanting to put their name on that list. Saw some pros and other masters athletes saying, "Oh, I'm planning on Del Mar." And it's an exciting area. It's a very nice, beautiful city. And I think people are going to be very excited to come experience it.
Well, I am.
Joe,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Rick. Finish it up.
I was going to say, I am a YouTube TV subscriber, and I'm caught up in the contract dispute. I lost ESPN on a college football weekend. So I'm going to spend some time and go back on YouTube and watch some old regionals from there. And that'll be my entertainment, since I'm losing out on college football instead. So you can count on, on myself going trip down memory lane. The old.
I think a lot of people are going to be doing
regional.
that. I want to push them to go check out those highlight videos, and go check out, the iconic moments that were featured, and just kind of, picture yourself in one of those moments, because it's going to be epic. And, just the planning process on how do we capture that? How do we show it? How do we make the athletes feel that? That's already started. So we definitely want to knock this experience out of the park, and want people to come back every year, because it can be a very successful event, especially being in San Diego.
Excellent.
That's awesome, Joe. Thanks for coming on with us today. Appreciate your time and such short notice. Any new announcements or any details that come out on any of this stuff, we know how to reach you, and we will get you back on here. Appreciate your time. Rick, Joe, see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.